Good day, everybody, and hello from the Horizon Chaser. Today is my very first overseas broadcast. I'm calling in from Sydney, and today my very good friend Rainy will also be dialing in from somewhere other than Singapore. So, for today, we are going to be having a conversation on the power of gratitude. But I think this past year has been a very interesting year. It's probably the year where the world opened up from the pandemic. But even so, I think there were many situations where our expectations were not met. I mean, there were these ideas of how things would go back to normal, we would be living our best lives, but there was the Great Resignation, the Great Regret, war between Russia and Ukraine, great inflation, and now we're looking at another recession. So it can be challenging to stay grateful in such great times. So before I go too much into this afternoon's conversation, allow me to invite Rainy to join us in the studio. Hello, Rainy.
Hello. I am so sorry. You will have my sexy voice today because I've been down with cough and flu. So these 2 days is considered better. So yeah.
And we have Axel dialing in from Singapore. So thank you for joining us, Rainy, even though you're not 100% well, but we can see that you're still very energetic. So how has the trip back to your hometown been?
Well, been waiting for it, right? I think because of the COVID, it really kind of like hit me that it feels that it hits closer that, people were losing their loved ones. And, sometimes I feel that I, or maybe many of us, take granted for the life that we have and the life of the loved ones, right? We always think that there's always tomorrow, there's always next time, but we don't know, we didn't really accept the fact that actually at any point of time we can be the one that is gone or the one that is being taken away or even
Mm.
our loved ones. So that really hit me. So I decided that I really have to make it a point to make it to spend more time with my family. And so being able to be back here with my parents, meeting my siblings and my nieces, it's amazing. To me, it's already special enough.
I think that's a very beautiful message you share
Yeah.
there, and it's sometimes it's easy to take for granted the ones who are close to us, and because we got so many big dreams that we want to chase, so many things that we want to experience, right? That sometimes it's easy to forget that the people that have been around us the longest. Sometimes we might forget um, how important and how close they are to us.
Yeah.
And we have some people dialing in who are saying hello. We have BB. Hi, BB. Thanks
Yeah.
for
And
joining us. We also have KP.
wow. Kepi, hi.
Hi, KP.
Yeah.
Hi. And Rainy, you wanted to share something just now?
Yeah, I was just saying that we yes, like what you mentioned, we all have dreams, we all have our goals that we want to pursue, and we're so focused on our goals that we always think that everything can wait, and that includes our loved ones that they can wait. I think in life, that doesn't work that way. So I don't want to live with regrets, and I think this is a good time for everyone to reflect, right? To reflect and to be grateful
Mm.
for what we have, and to realize that to be present is more important. Like to be able to balance and spend some time with what truly matters to us, rather than waiting for one day. Only when I'm successful, only when I have make it big, then I will have the time to take care of my family or to spend time with them. That doesn't really work well.
Yeah, there's a saying, right, that life is what happens to us when we are busy making our plans. And a friend of mine also shared recently that if there's anything the last 2 years taught us, it's this lesson that life is short. So we have
Absolutely.
to be present. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
In
we
fact,
also have Brian. I think Brian is in Colombia. So The last
Ah,
actually, I think Brian was in Colombia, so thank you for tuning in. If you're not in Colombia, I'm sorry, Brian. So do share with us where you're tuning in from. And that's very true. Gratitude is everything.
yeah.
And there was something I was watching this morning by Mark who was saying that people who are happy grateful, or people who are grateful happy. So I think that's something really something for us to think about, right? Are people who are happy grateful, or is it because they're grateful that they're happy?
Hmm.
So what do you think?
I think people who are grateful tend to be happier, or maybe what we use the word joyful. Uh, the
Mm,
joy is more stagnant because they are grateful for the just the small things in life, the day to day in life that keeps them in a constant joy. What do you think?
mm. Yeah, I was just
The
thinking
rest of
about
the
how
people here.
sometimes sorry.
What about the rest of the people here?
Yeah, those who are tuning in, do you think people who are happy are grateful, or are people who are grateful naturally happy? So while the viewers think about that, I'm going to ask you, Rainy, in our recap
What?
for the year, right?
You arrow
uh,
shoot already.
yeah, my first arrow for today, the question: what word describes your 2022?
Yeah, I was just thinking about it. See, we play cheat, right? As the so-called organizer, we get to see the questions first, so we get to kind of like think through. So I was just thinking that particular question. What is my word for this year? So I think a good word for me is closure.
Oh, okay.
I didn't
So
expect that
why
actually.
do you pick? Oh,
So yeah, I didn't expect that. It wasn't part of my intention for the year. In December, the closure happened, right? So there was a part. There was I've been divorced for 5 years. Time flies really fast, and there was one small bit of disappointment and hurts that was left inside me that I
mm,
didn't let go. I didn't let go and wasn't ready to let go. So
mm,
this year, I had a thought to let it go because I realized that the elders are growing old, so it's got to do with. So I had disappointment and feeling hurt with my ex in-laws for some of the things that they did and some of the things that they didn't do. So I was not ready to let it go. But this year, I thought they're getting old, and in the event that anything were to happen to them, I don't want them to live with any any confusion, any entanglement. And likewise, I don't want that to happen as well because I was thinking, I think I will regret that, right? So
mm,
eventually, I made it happen. The opportunity came, so I made it happen. I went to Malaysia, go and visit them, brought something for them, and I was I didn't know what to expect, but I was welcomed with a smile and a hug, and I was like, okay, that was good, and it felt like a good relief. Like it feels just huge relief. So that
mm,
was closure, and a few days before I did that. So my son went through a mindset program, so for me and Sau Yong, we are big thing about mindset, right? So he went for this mindset leadership and also some strategy techniques. And at the end of the 5 days boot camp, the graduation, all the kids stood up and shared their experience. And I was all in tears as the kids are sharing. It's a very safe space. They're so vulnerable. They apologize to their
mm,
parents. They thank their parents. So, as a parents, those who can relate with me, each of them as they stand up, I just keep crying and crying, crying, right? And I think me and my ex, we were both there. I think we felt so proud that our boy managed to complete that process. And at the end of the session, my ex actually came to me and said, "Hey, uh, can I give you a hug?" I say, "Okay," right? And it was a brief hug, and then he said, "I'm sorry. and thank
mm,
you. And I was like, wow,
mm,
that took him 5 years. I didn't expect that
mm,
because for him, I had let it go a long time ago. And I didn't really expect that anymore, right? But for the fact that it came
mm,
unexpectedly, I think it was a good closure. And so
mm.
for this plus that, it really, I think this year is the more, yeah, the theme is closure.
I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, Closure, resolving the past, right? And what's amazing about it is it wasn't something you expect,
Yeah.
which makes it all the more beautiful, right?
Yeah.
I'm very happy for you, and I'm sure everybody who is tuning in is very touched and very inspired by your courage in sharing your vulnerability. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you. And we all know, right? When we just give, we don't expect that, it's going to come back. We don't expect that it's going to be returned. Then usually it's going to come back. And when it comes back, it gives us a pleasant surprise. And we are even more grateful for it because we give
Mm,
sincerely. And when we give and when we let go, we actually liberate ourselves as well. So I think that was amazing too.
mm.
And it's my learning as well.
Excellent. I think the viewers tuning in, they share the same sentiment because we're going back to the point of, are happy people grateful, or is it people who are grateful that are happy, right? So Axel shares that grateful people are generally happier, or at least less sad.
Mm,
I think that's a good way of putting it because happiness is also not a permanent state.
mm.
And sometimes it's also gratitude helps us come to terms with the difficult emotions that we're experiencing.
Yeah.
Angie, thank you for tuning in. Angie also shares that feels that people who are grateful are happier. Andy, and I know Andy to be one of the most positive people around, so he knows what he's talking about. Thanks for tuning in, Andy. Gratefulness causes happiness, and KP shares what Axel says in that grateful people are less sad. Sometimes
Mm,
it's not just about happiness, which is an elevated emotion, an excitable state, but also about calm and peace, which we've also noticed that many people are looking for this calm and peace in their lives. We're talking about things like work-life balance. We're talking about things like a meaningful existence. So BB encourages you, 加油, happy you, happy now. Thank you,
yeah.
BB.
Thank you, Bibi.
Yeah. So we would also like to hear from you, right? If you could use one word to describe your 2022, what would it be for you? So share, type it out in the comments for us. I think
What
for
about
me,
you, Sau Yong?
2022,
What's your word?
I was thinking what keeps going up and down. I think it probably be roller coaster. It's been a roller
Oh, you
coaster
had a
of a
roller
year for
coaster?
me.
You had a roller coaster, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, kind of. It was a roller coaster year. I had a few unexpected. It was also unexpected because the nature of a roller coaster isn't just up and down, right? But sometimes it's also the unexpectedness of things happening, both in the good and the not so good sense. The people development part, I had some great opportunities come my way, but at the same time, it also presented a lot of stress because the funny thing is, when I get the results that I want from the work that I do, it also means more work. So that added a lot of stress. And because of that, I also became a bit tired, a bit more cranky, and there was also a family medical emergency. But at the same time, I was grateful that I was able to be there. So it's kind of like it's the year end. And remember when I was sharing this with you, Rainy, you were saying like, when we're tired, right? There's one powerful word that we need to be able to use. And what's that word, Rainy?
Hey, gosh, this is exam, man. I don't remember. There's
Yeah.
only one word.
Yeah, it's a
One word?
two-letter word.
Two-letter
Yeah.
word? Ah, I know already.
Mm.
Self-love, right?
Ah,
Self-love, right?
no, two
Hey, what?
letter,
Two,
two
let,
letters.
two
Yeah.
letters only?
Mm.
What do we do when we are tired? Two letter? What is that? I don't remember.
You said you must learn how to say no.
Hey, they want so many letter, okay? Okay lah.
No. Must learn how to say no.
Okay. Hey. Yeah.
So thank you.
Did you do that?
Okay, so yeah, actually I'm learning how to say no, learning how to make time for myself, manage my rest, my health. So yeah, it's been a tiring year, but I
Yeah, I
think
think,
it's a lot to learn from that.
yeah, because what happens is that, as when things goes well, right, as we are soaring higher,
Mm,
and we will notice that many opportunities come to us, people wants to work with us, then sometimes as we may get kind of like blinded or distracted, not knowing that
mm,
is, is this a distractions, or is this something that truly can help me to get closer to what I truly want in life. So
mm,
when we're busy, right, we are not that mindful to make decisions. So yeah, it does requires us to be focused in terms of knowing very clearly what is our priority in life, and yeah, to
mm.
to really say no to those that doesn't bring us to those priorities in life. I learned that too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I Axel has something to share. When he said this, I immediately thought of Johnny Walker. So these are Axel's two words.
Only Walker is the term, right?
Keep walking. I think that's a great way of
Keep walking.
staying on track, moving
Mm,
forward.
mm. Depending
And
on
he
when you're
also
working,
shares
where you're working,
self
though,
care.
just make sure that you are
Where
working
you're
to
walking,
the direction. Yeah, if you keep walking, but you walk to the probably wrong direction, then you will end up not getting to where you want to be, right? So
yeah, that's
knowing where
true.
we are
That's true.
working, yeah, knowing where we are working, and not getting distracted to make the unnecessary turns, yeah, I think that's important. What do you think?
Okay, so since you're talking about that, right? So if that's the case, then what would help you stay on track?
Hmm. Knowing my vision, having my
Mm-hmm.
life vision, knowing my values, these are the two important things. And of course, if we all know our passion, what is our interest, that is even better. So
Mm.
the life purpose is a big one. But anyone who found that, they found their life compass. So it does take quite a few elements to be very clear, crystal clear in life. What about you? What helps?
Mm. Yeah, actually, you're talking about life compass. This is the time of the year where I actually do my year compass. So I think I agree. It's very important to always keep track. I mean, we first have to discover what we want out of life, and then at the same time, we also have to keep track so that we know that as we keep walking on life's journey, we stay on the track that we want to be on, and we don't go off track. So now to stay on track, I'm going to bring in the next question. And I also like those who are tuned in, right, to share with us. So, what was your biggest challenge in 2022? What was the hardest thing you had to overcome for the year?
This question is for me, is it?
Mm.
Or the audience?
For you and also for the audience.
Actually, I think this year, to be honest, I think this year is
Mm.
quite smooth for me. In fact, I
Excellent.
would say that actually I have a good year. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there are some minor things, right? Personally, you have some hiccups along the way, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not really that major for me. So I, I don't really have one that. I can put. Probably not this. I don't know. I guess when you when you went through a big one, then there is a contrast, right? So then
Mm.
the rest of the hiccups doesn't look like a big thing anymore. This year, I don't feel that I have any big challenge. What about you?
So Axel talks about delays. So thankfully, uh, for me, I didn't have too many flight delays. But
Well,
Axel, can you
you
share with us
find
when you say, yeah, when you say delays, what do you mean by delays?
flight delays.
So Axel, what do you mean when you say delays is your biggest challenge? And for Andy said
Flight
like
delays.
2022 was not the year he got everything he wanted.
Okay.
This was the year he appreciated everything he has. I think that's
Mm,
a
that's a good one.
beautiful way of saying it. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that too. I want to steal that too. I didn't get everything that I want, but yeah,
Yeah.
as I was reflecting, I realized that I was focusing too much on what was missing and what I didn't accomplish. But when I look at the trends from my past years, it is an uptrend. And even this year,
Mm,
business wise, I actually hit a new high that I
mm,
didn't have before in the past years. So by right, I should be grateful, right? And I should be happy. So there was a point in time that okay. So you mentioned about my biggest struggle. This could be it, right? To be grateful in great times. When you said
mm,
struggle to me, I was like, oh my god, how come it's so sharp? Like it sounds really
mm,
relevant. So immediately I said, yeah, I think this is good, right? But I didn't realize that your grade comes with what do you call it? Uh, um,
quote
uh,
marks.
a quote mark, right? Whereby my grade, it literally means it's actually a great year. But despite it's a great year because I noticed that I was focusing on what I didn't achieve, and that makes me feel dissatisfied in life, dissatisfied with myself. And I got to really remind myself and wake me up to remind myself that hey, you know what? This is actually pretty good. And just keep moving and stay
Mm,
consistent.
mm. Thanks. Yeah, it's how do we stay grateful in both great, I say not so good, but also really great times. Like you had a great year. Yeah. And we
So
are all very happy for you that you had a great year.
well, thank you. I'm sure it all depends on how we look at things, right? Because you see, even
Mm,
this word "great" that you choose, right, is a great example for us. It's the same word, but it can carry different meaning. So it is the different
mm,
meaning that makes us feel in a certain way, isn't it? So if the meaning
mm.
is positive, we feel positive. If the meaning that we have is negative, then we feel negative, right? We feel upset, right?
So it's the power of perspective,
Absolutely.
of being able to reframe the situation.
Yeah,
So
because
yeah, I think this. So if you're talking about that, then my challenge for 2022 was actually reframing new situations that were initially stressful for me and then turning it into something that I could learn from. I think my good friend Ian from Scotland says we either win or we learn. So so when we view things through those perspectives is we either win or we learn something which will help us win next time. So I think that has been very useful in helping me reframe challenging and difficult situations.
yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
And
I think this is Jimmy. Thanks for tuning in, Jimmy.
yeah, and we reframing the situation. It sounds easy when life is good, but the true challenge for us is when we are going through difficult situations. How can we apply the same principles to reframe the situation into an opportunity, into something that we can learn and something that we can grow? People who are
Mm.
able to apply that effectively are the one that can grow when they overcome the situation. So it's not about really talking about it, but really applying that. And I think you being able to do that that shows your self mastery, which is awesome.
Thank you. I'm still learning, still a long way to go. But I think now that we are on this topic, right? Since you're talking about reframing, I think we can go into the next question. And while everyone is thinking about this question, I'm also going to share that we're also going to bring a special guest. Today, we actually not only have one, but we have three special guests. And our next special guest is actually Mark Schisler, which is a great friend of Rainy, right? He's tuning in from the United States. So we are going to be talking about how do we stay grateful in tough times. So Rainy, what are your thoughts on this as I bring Mark in?
How do we
How do you
stay
stay grateful?
grateful in tough time? I think for me it's
Okay,
very simple.
everyone,
Oh,
say hi to Mark.
hi Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Oh, good. Finally, do you know that this is, despite we chat a lot, we have never had a video call before.
Oh,
So happy to see Mark.
Mark, I think you have to unmute your mic at the settings.
Yeah, good to see you both.
Thanks for joining us today, Mark. Which part of the United States are you dialing in from?
Los Angeles.
Wow.
It must be pretty late at night for you now, isn't it? What time is it?
It's about 8:30. Not too late.
Oh,
Oh, okay, that's not too late. So thank you very much for making the time for us in reflecting for the year. So, Mark, do you have anything that you'd like to share with us on the conversation so far?
Well,
Anything that
yeah,
comes to mind?
I've heard a lot of interesting things. I think I'm a big believer in the law of attraction, and what I think is that basically the energy that you put out into the world is what you're going to attract back to yourself.
yeah.
So my comment is if you put out a positive attitude to your friends and the public and things you want to achieve, that's what you're going to attract back into your life, right? So, and while you're doing that, if you're grateful for what you already have, then you're going to have other people that are grateful for you. So I think that's the message that I got out of 2022. Also, the a message for 2022 is to take some time for yourself, do some self care, take care of your health, and there's no better investment than you can make in your mental health and your physical health. So those were my takeaways.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. I love
Thank
that.
you.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's answered for both of us, so we do. No, just kidding. But
Yeah,
what I really
you have
love.
covered everything that I need to say.
Well, good. I'm glad.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build on what Mark has shared, and that is on the two things, right? Number one is the power of attraction, the law of attraction, how what we give, what we get, in essence, in our interactions with the people we have around us. I think that also that sense of community does build that sense of gratitude. It's very difficult to experience things like gratitude without things like kinship, without friendship. And I think that's one way we can stay grateful in tough times, and that is to not only send out the vibes, but to also seek out those vibes from people that we know will be supportive. And the other thing that Mark mentioned about self-care, right? Not only our physical health, but also our mental and emotional health. Because when we take care of those foundational pillars, we are in a better headspace, a better mind space to be able to stop and see what we do have in life that we can appreciate, like what Andy Schmidt said earlier. Because when we are not feeling well, when we are feeling depressed and anxious, usually when we are isolated, it's much harder to look for the silver linings in life's many clouds, right? But the nature of life is such that the clouds will always be there, but the nature of clouds is that they are transient, they are impermanent, and sometimes it's all we need to do is, as it's raining, we look for the silver lining to appreciate. And the last thing that I really like to build on from what Mark has shared is when we send these intentions out, even though Mark, you're located all the way in Los Angeles, I can feel how positive you are, how genuine and warm you are.
Super.
So super, right? It's amazing that even though we may not be there physically, we can get these kind of vibes. So we can connect with people from anywhere around the world, right? To feel this sense of connection and gratitude and friendship. So and that's something I'm also grateful for this year.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and
That's
I
great.
think energy is cross-dimensional, right? It doesn't limit it to geographical, right? You can really transfer it over a different medium, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing about self-care, sometimes people think self-care might be selfish, right? Like, oh, it's me, I. But if you're going to express gratitude and take care of other people, you can't do that from an empty cup, right? Your
Mm.
cup has to be filled first. Like much like on an airline, on an airplane, when the oxygen mask drops, you're supposed to put your mask on first so you can take care of other people. And I think gratitude and taking care of yourself enables you to take care of other people. And I think people need to realize it's not selfish. It's taking care of yourself is paramount to taking care of other people because you can't do that unless you're taking care of yourself.
As an airline pilot, Mark, I could not agree more, and I love that analogy of putting on your own oxygen mask first before you look after somebody else.
Right.
So we have our second guest backstage today. As we move into our next question, and I think some of you might recognize her. She's pretty active on LinkedIn, and I can see her beautiful smile as I'm introducing her. We call her Cikgu Rose. It's a term of affection, and she's going to come in as we move into the next question, which is, what are you most grateful for in 2022? And for those who are tuning in, you can share with us in the comments. What are you most grateful for in 2022? As we begin, Rose is also dialing in from Singapore. So we have
Hi
one
everyone.
person in Sydney,
Hi, Rose.
Rainy is in
Hi.
Indonesia,
Hi,
Mark is
Rose.
in Los Angeles, and Rose is in Singapore. So Rose,
Wow. 4 countries.
Cikgu Rose.
So nice to see all of you actually. Sau Yong, thank you for inviting me for this lovely, this time to actually talk about gratitude. So, as you said, what are you most grateful for in 2022? I can only think of one word, and that is
Mm.
peace. Really,
Mm.
I feel that there's so many things that's going around the world that I've got no control over. Okay, lots of stuff that's happening, and I think if there is no peace in our lives, gratitude might be a bit difficult. That's how I see it as, because if things are very chaotic and I'm not centering myself and I'm unable to be present in the moment, I will continuously get distracted by things that I have no control over. So for me, it was peace, really peace. And I think the peace that I have is also brought on by the incredible people that I have met. I'm not a social media person. This whole thing about LinkedIn,
Really?
I am not. Although you give me all these brand names, but seriously, I share what I feel like sharing. But I feel the greatest thing that I've experienced in terms of that upping my gratitude level was actually the whole idea of meeting incredible people that I never thought I would meet. And like Sau Yong, I think I must be grateful for you, because I think a lot of things started because we go back to the lost book story, and we used to talk about last year about serendipity. And I think that a lot of these funny things that happened along the way were the ones that actually got me to understand that, a lot of times we have no control over things that are beyond us. But if we can actually be very present in the moment, and be very grateful for the kind of people, because people, I think, make a whole lot of our lives. Without great people around, it is very difficult for us, because no man is an island,
No
and
woman too.
yes, true, agree. And no pets as well, no animals also. So I'm grateful for that. Seriously, peace. Very grateful for that, and the peace that comes through really great people that I've met, through LinkedIn. One of the places that I'm very surprised that for someone who is not so into social media, it was kind of like an experience. That courage that came out to say, just try, see how, that kind of feeling, like just try, and then that translated to courage, to actually meet people. And I met Rainy, I met you, and I met a few people that I think are pretty amazing people to be walking around in this planet right now, because it's like without beautiful people, without people with good intentions, without people who are genuinely interested in forging relationships, friendships, I think life will be very difficult. So I'm grateful for that. And of course, I think, Sau Yong, that this year is quite a rocky year for me as well, because I was not well. I had a surgery, but I think I recovered because of the people that were actually around me, my family, my friends, and what was amazing for this experience was strangers. And as for me, it was really getting out of my comfort zone, because it's like I'm actually a bit introverted. So for me to actually come out there and make friends, I think it helped. It helped tremendously. So yeah, so peace was the one that kind of like what I'm extremely grateful for. Yeah,
Thank
very
you.
grateful for that.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you, Rose. That's very beautifully put. And you are one of the people I'm also very grateful for in my network. It's good to see that you are flourishing despite some of the challenges you've been through. And also that, like what Brian has said here, thank you, Brian, for tuning in. And we are very appreciative of your support. And he says that learn from many wonderful people on LinkedIn. So I think that's something that we have all benefited from. So, Rainy, what are you grateful for in 2022?
Relationship. I think
Mm,
as I grow more mature,
mm,
relationship is becoming the number one important matters to me. So having my family members healthy, doing well, and having my child doing well, my loved one doing
mm.
well, I think to me that is already a big gift already. So yeah, relationship.
Thank you. That also echoes what Rose was sharing about people, right? Having the right people to support us, provide us that sense of peace when we are going through tough times. And I would also like to use this opportunity to thank all of you. Really, you have been also supportive of me and also all the other many countless people. I think if there's one thing I'm grateful for in 2022, it's also people who collaborated with me, who supported me, who gave me wonderful advice, and also the encouragement to move on when times were tough. And Mark, what are you grateful for in 2022?
Well, in 2022, I've had some health challenges as well. So I'm very grateful for my health. And I'm very grateful for many, many hundreds of people that I've met on LinkedIn. And it's been a joy to just interact with just tons and tons of people. So very grateful for that.
Yeah, I think thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it's been and I came to this realization also, right, that what makes life worth living, things like love, friendship, kindness, generosity, all these things, we can't have them without people in our lives. And it's
I'm a
wonderful to see. Yes,
I
sorry.
was just saying, I'm a believer that no matter how rich you are, how successful you are, but if you are alone, you have no one to share your joy with, I think to me that's very sad. So that's not the kind of like to me success. Okay, so definition of success, right? And everyone is different, but for me, it's like success for me is the people that I make a difference with, and also having the people that I can share my joy and my success with. So that is success.
Yeah. In fact, I would say that although everybody's version of success is different, um, there is I find it impossible to imagine somebody who imagines success as being all by themselves. There may be some people who prefer smaller social circles and some people who prefer wider social circles, but ultimately, we can't really live a very meaningful life on our own, right? So yes, having the right people in our lives makes an incredible difference. So thanks to all of you for making a difference in mine.
Thank you too.
And I wanted to say thanks to Sau Yong for. I've seen pictures of sunsets and sunrises from the cockpit. I've seen Rainy in Paris this year. I don't know Rose that well, but it's just I feel like I've been there through all of these experiences.
Yeah.
So I think no matter how far away we are from each other, I think we're all very close because we all see each other every day, even though we don't always say it. We all appreciate what everybody's going through and what everybody puts out there. So that's another thing that I'm grateful for.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
And it's very touching to hear that, and it kind of like really gives the word engagement a whole new meaning, right?
Yeah.
To be able to engage on a deeper and a more human level. And the good thing is, you're in Los Angeles. I fly to Los Angeles, so if I'm ever in town, I'll drop by and say hi.
I
Yes,
know I envy you.
definitely. We'll go. I'll
Envy
come to the
you.
airport and we'll have coffee.
What?
Sounds good.
Okay, I'm missing out.
Actually, I just wanna
So
I just want to just chip in and say something about what Mark actually said about all of us coming together. I mean, even this moment right now, thanks to you and Rainy, I mean, to create this kind of a little platform like this for people to just take a step back and just think about what they're grateful for. I think it's also very empowering because it tells us that everyone that's listening in or from everywhere at this point in time, that there are always things that we can find gratitude in. And I think it is um for us, as we are talking about it, is actually to kind of like nudge one another and say, hey, what about family, hey, what about friends, hey, so I think, and like what Mark said about even the pictures of the sunsets. And I remembered one of the pictures that you sent to me, with the stars, and you actually captured Orion in the sky, and Orion is actually the name of my
Yeah.
dog. So I mean, it is this kind of incredible experiences that we get from one another. And I think that we can't really put a number to it, we can't really put a value to it, but we know that the impact is phenomenal. And therefore I feel that when we come online, or when we are on LinkedIn, or even in our lives with the people that we meet, we really have to be very gentle with everybody as far as possible. And one of the things that I've been always trying to talk about in a lot of my posts that I write is really about kindness. And I think that like when you said earlier about things like kindness, like love and peace and stuff like that, we must not undervalue them, because we cannot function, as a human being if we don't have them. And it's fantastic when we come online, when we meet some of our LinkedIn friends, that they actually align with us. They are authentically themselves. The people that you see online are the real people that you actually meet, and that kind of makes it even more impactful about the whole idea of being grateful. And I don't think that there should be a timeline for gratitude. you know yeah, there shouldn't be a timeline.
Thanks.
I can be grateful for the hot coffee that I get in the morning, because there are people in the cold who may not even have it. And I think that we always hear that cliche statement, gratitude is an attitude. But I think that if you really wear it as part of your lifestyle, I think it is something that you will never regret, because I think there is so much of value in just being kind and just being grateful for every little thing that we have. And I think if we can really, really do that, um, on this platform or in our day-to-day life, despite the craziness that's happening around the world, I believe that we can actually experience moments of peace, because I feel that that's something that many of us would really appreciate. Yeah. So just
And
wanted to.
you share those messages. You share those messages so beautifully in the things that you write, Rose. So I think it does come across very clearly in your, despite you saying you're not a social media person, but it comes across very clearly in your social media content. And I think it's like what Brian says here also, that people are amazing. They bring joy, positive vibes, and encouragement, not only in your persona, but also what you write, Rose. In the end, we need to take the actions on how we can help not only ourselves, but also those around us. So that's one big lesson that you share with us for 2022, which brings us very nicely to our final question, which is, what was the most important thing you learned for the year? And our next guest is also waiting backstage, and I'm going to bring him on very soon. So as I bring him on, uh, so everybody who's tuning in and those who are also in this studio, have a think about what was the most important thing you learned in 2022, as we say hi to Mr. Axel Ching,
Hey, hi,
LinkedIn's resident Chinese historian.
hi. Hi, Rose, hi, Mark, hi, Rainy.
Hi,
Hi,
Axel.
Hey,
Sharon.
excellent.
Hi,
Yeah,
Sau Yong.
Axel.
Okay, so I'm giving my answer now, right?
Yes, it's
Okay,
your
okay.
turn now.
So what's the one thing I learned this year? Okay, it's similar to what Rainy has said earlier part of the of what she said like, earlier in the earlier part, is that don't think that we always have time to do what we want to do. Okay, so that's why I put one of the challenges just now. My answer was delay in plans.
Mm,
Because there are times when I think, yeah, actually I can leave it to the next day, the next week, or things like that. But just before that, then things will happen. Okay, one of the things is like my dad was not in good health, so he went to hospital. So some things has to be delayed, so I cannot do certain things. So it happens a few times this year. So after that, I tell myself, hey, if I want to do it today, I better do it today. So don't think about, okay, I can do it tomorrow, the next day, the next week, that kind of thing. And also like what the Bible says that people do not do boast about tomorrow because you don't know what tomorrow will bring. Because a lot of times you go and think, I still have time tomorrow. I can do this tomorrow. I'm very confident this will come to pass. But then you don't know what tomorrow actually will happen. Okay, just like we have already experienced COVID. So who will actually think that such a thing would happen? We thought COVID would be like SARS. Okay, maybe it just be over in a few months, but it's lasted 2 years and it's still going on. So a lot of
mm,
things happen that is unexpected. So what we want to do today, what we can do today, go and do it today. Okay, instead of
mm.
sometime later. So that's what I learned this year.
Thanks for sharing that. So whatever important thing that we want to get done, just get it done.
Yeah.
Just do it, like Nike would say.
Yep, just do it. Of course, must do it the right way also lah. Just like what Rainy said, that cannot just keep walking, must walk the right direction. If not, you end up somewhere in Holland.
Rainy, what's the most important thing you learned for 2022?
So yeah, I believe is to be grateful in great times. This is my learning, to be grateful in great
Mm.
times. As early on I mentioned, right, there was a point in time in this year that I was unhappy with myself. I was unhappy with my result because I was focusing so much on what I didn't get. I miss
Mm.
out on the stuff that I have created, and that makes me feel unhappy, right? So I had to put in a lot of effort to really remind myself of all the things that I teach and then to apply it back again. And yeah, that becomes a great reminder this year and a great lesson to be grateful in great times. It may sound funny to all of you, right? I mean, how can one not being able to be grateful in great times? Well, it happens when, for me, in my context, is that because I was focusing so much on what was empty rather than what has been
Mm.
filled up. Yeah, so that was my learning.
Yeah, actually, it goes back to the beginning of this whole conversation, right? Like, happy people grateful, or are grateful people happy? And I think sometimes when we are happy and we're celebrating, and it's easy to just get caught up in the moment and not pause to give thanks. And being able to do so actually helps build humility, to recognize that not even though we might have put in the hard work, that result isn't not all down to us. It's also due to the support that we received from the people and the world around us. So yeah, I think it's something definitely worth developing, staying grateful in both great and not so great times, right? So thanks, Rainy. Mark, would you like to share what was your most important lesson for 2022?
I think one of the important lessons was be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up so much. We're all on social media. We all see people
Mm,
with millions of followers, and we think, I only have 1,000 followers. I'm nobody. But you know what? Be kind to yourself. Don't worry about what other people have. Worry about what you have and what you're doing the most with what you have. And that's the big lesson that I learned this year was don't be envious of what someone else has. Just be happy with what you have. Stay on your path. Do what you can. Like what Axel said, if you want to get it done today and you don't get it done today, well, you know what? There's always tomorrow. So get it done tomorrow if you don't get it done today. And I think that's a good way to approach it.
thank you. Thank you very much, Mark. And I think it's easy to get caught up, right, in this whole social media game. We're bombarded with so many positive, feel good stories, and sometimes we might even compare whether it's consciously or subconsciously, and that builds that feeling of what we call a scarcity mindset, right? It's
Yeah.
like we're constantly looking at what we don't have, which is why what Rainy says makes a lot of sense, right? It's about then, and also in line with what Andy said earlier about appreciating what we already do have. So thank you very much for highlighting that point on not only kindness to our own selves, but also that whole message of acceptance, being able to accept who we are, being able to accept what we have, and in doing so, being grateful for it. So thank you, Rose. So what was the most important thing you learned in 2022?
Um, I think it's courage.
Mm,
Courage. Courage. Yeah, because um, courage because the first few months, as I was not very well, okay, I had to, I had surgery and stuff like that, and then I kind of like had difficulty walking, you know. and I was not really in a good shape, so to speak, as in like I was very afraid to walk, afraid of pain. And then I saw myself going on walking sprees in nature, writing about nature. And I think it was so important for me to do that because I had to step out of my home and go into another environment, which is not something that we all do all the time. But for me, after my surgery, this was something that I kind of like had to do, and nobody pushed me. And I just told myself, just go out there and walk. And walking became one of the things that we may take it for granted. But because I was in a position where I couldn't walk, I had to find that courage within me to walk. And I walked. And I really, really walked. And I think through that walk, I learned a very important thing, and that is to be fearless, to not be afraid of whatever that's in front of me. Because when you really cannot walk, right? I mean, mine is not a permanent disability, but I started to think about those people who have physical disabilities that will inhibit them from actually doing something as simple that I can do, and that is the gratitude that I have, that my ability to walk was not taken away from me just for this moment, and I'm going to be very grateful for that. So my walks in nature was where I kind of like, it was strange, but I think it was the part that healed me a lot, where I could actually sit and write my poems, and a lot of things through that walk, where walking through the some of the places that I walked required a little bit more strength, which I didn't have. But being able to take that step alone, not with anybody, but was something that I learned, that there are things that if I put myself out there, I have to do it. I have it within me that I can, be it a physical, a mental block, but I need to get it done. I need to get it done. And like what Axel said about delays, if I don't do it now, when will I do it? I have to get it done. So courage, and with that courage, that sense of peace came along. And with that sense of peace, a whole lot of gratitude came. Yeah. So that's something that I've learned.
Thank you. And I also am grateful for you sharing your journey. I remember the post you wrote about the difficulties and the challenges you had in the process of rehabilitation as you were starting to learn to walk after your surgery, and also the post that you wrote, which is your talent, right, and how you use it to inspire people through the challenges that you were going through. I think that's really powerful. And so Yang Ling also had this to share. She's grateful for meeting generous people on LinkedIn. The most important thing that I learned was how passion can drive a person. So like Rose, your passion in writing, I think Yang Ling has actually shared with me before how your writing has inspired her. And Brian has this to share also, that he resonates with your experience. He had surgery on his ankle where he couldn't walk, and how important it is to have the courage to take the step to stand and walk. So, as we are coming to the last minute of our gratitude field section today, right? Axel, do you have any words for our audience before we call an end to the session? Any words of encouragement for the year 2023?
Well, this one I cannot think of it in the moment's notice. Okay, but
Okay, then we come back to you. We come.
okay, but simply just put it is what I already said. Okay, don't put off things that you do today to tomorrow. Okay, so because a lot of times, okay, I think it's what Rainy also has said. You might regret. You usually regret the things that you didn't do instead of the things you do. Usually, lah. Okay, so at least if you go and do it today, you know that okay, I have done it. Okay, whatever happens is out of my hand, that kind of thing. So don't have to regret that. Hey, yeah, I should have done it because you can't go back. Redo it again most of the time. Yeah, that's mine.
Thank you, Axel. Rainy, any parting words?
My message is be very clear with what you want in life and go all the way out to create that. Because when you get that right, life is amazing. It's worth it.
Thank you. Thank you. Ma?
Today is the solstice. It's going to be a new moon tomorrow.
Yep.
2023 is a blank slate. Whatever dreams you have, don't put them off. Just go for it.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, it's the winter solstice. The Chinese eat the dumplings today with the sweet ginger soup. So thanks for the reminder. Rose, anything for our audience today?
I'm just
Before we
grateful
go.
to be here. Thank you for the invitation. And thank you to everybody who has been so kind to take time to actually read some of the things I write. They are actually written really through my experiences, and if you read the poems that I write, it's really experiences, it's really reflections. So if it has inspired you and if it has done something for you, I'm very happy that it has done that, because I think that is the community that we have here, that we are not alone. We journey together. We may not know each other, um, in certain ways, but I believe that everyone has a voice that they can put out there. And if that voice travels to somebody's heart or somebody's mind and heals them or does something for them, I think we've done something good. And I think that's important. Yeah, that's all from me.
Thank you. So I'm just going to say thank you to all of you, to everyone who is tuned in, to those who are not tuned in, who have touched my lives in both big ways and small. And I wish everyone love and kindness in the year ahead, and may everyone have a wonderful holiday season with your loved ones. So thank you, everyone, and let's wish everybody goodbye, all the best, and enjoy your Christmas season.
Thank you and Merry
Take care.
Christmas.
Merry
Bye-bye.
Christmas, happy holidays.
Merry Christmas. Bye-bye.
Happy holidays.
Bye bye.